Welcome to the show, Chris Graham and Ray Petree. We're going to talk about WrestleDream, the AEW pay-per-view. We're recording on Friday, so we're just a day away as AEW getting ready for yet another pay-per-view. It seems like they're doing one a month. We had Grand Slam a couple weeks ago and on Dynamite midweek. Busy time for us here. Let's start, Ray, with what we know will be the main event and a match that is getting extra build because of the situation with Bryan Danielson. He has said he will retire if he loses, whenever he loses the AEW World Title. He will be facing Jon Moxley, former stablemate from the Blackpool Combat Club. Um, let's talk booking. Your thoughts? Do you think AEW takes the belt off and Bryan Danielson rides off in the sunset?
So, over the last month, I'd kind of convinced myself that he was going to retain it because I think for the last year now, we've all expected that this would be Bryan Danielson's last full time match. It's in near his hometown, as close as they're going to get, I suppose. And now he has a title. Jon Moxley, someone who he's been linked with pretty much since he debuted in AEW. I kind of convinced myself no, but I read a report yesterday, a quote, and I don't know who he was talking to, but he said that during this match with Okada, because of his neck issues, he was kicking Okada and he couldn't turn his leg over anymore, and that the shooting pains have gotten so bad in his arms that he can't sleep at night. Um, I don't know if that's a work or if the injuries are really starting to pile up and the damage is really starting to affect him. I'm kind of inclined to believe this is the end of the line for the American Dragon.
I'm of two minds too. One thing I've learned over the many years of being a wrestling fan, observer, and the last few years being a writer, um, when something is oversold to us as fans, it means they're going to go in the other direction. It feels like we're being really aggressively sold that this is going to be it. I mean, Claudio did an interview where he said this is it. The show on Tuesday, the midweek Dynamite. This might be Bryan Danielson's last Dynamite. This match tomorrow might be his last pay-per-view. It feels aggressive, but then yeah, it's as near to his hometown as you can imagine. And it's not like it's his actual full time. He's never going to wrestle again in retirement. He has said it will be, he'll be a transition to being a part-time wrestler. Um, and he could use some time off. Everybody can in wrestling, no matter their health situation, but especially Bryan Danielson. He missed a few years because of the neck injury. He came back, worked in WWE for a while. He's been in AEW for several years now. And yeah, he could probably use 6 months to a year to recuperate, not take bumps and that kind of thing. He's still a relatively young guy in that sense, but um, so I'm talking all the way around it here. I would be surprised either way, or not surprised either way as well. But yeah, it could very well be the end, at least of full-time wrestling Bryan Danielson.
There's elements of what Moxley's been saying is that is Moxley either working for a higher power or is he trying to avoid someone from the outside um, of what they might do to AEW if the right person isn't stewarding the company? And I don't know what it is. Is maybe he working for Shane McMahon or is Shane McMahon working with the elite and Moxley's aware of it? Something like that. I'm not necessarily Shane McMahon, but sort of that like the Ministry of Darkness, kind of the higher power, so to speak. If Danielson wins, which, like you said, maybe they're just maybe it's so aggressive that it's going to swerve, and Danielson's going to win and retain this title. What was Moxley trying to prevent? What is Moxley doing? Why is he doing it? And that's, I guess, I mean, for me, if Danielson does win, that's what I want to know is why is Moxley so hell bent on winning the title? What is he trying to stop? Who is he trying to stop? Or who is orchestrating what he's doing? That's what would excite me. I think that would be the most exciting outcome of this. But I'm just not ready to say goodbye to Bryan Danielson full time yet. I think maybe it's cliche to have it happen at World's End, but you know I'm loving this run he's on right now.
Yeah, and and Moxley's held the belts a couple of different times. So it's not like he needs the belts, but it would make logical sense for we knew from the moment that those two guys were put together in Blackpool Combat Club that eventually this was going to be the case, that they would have some sort of a feud and a blow off. Um, maybe you could stretch it out. You could have some sort of ending where Danielson retains, but Moxley doesn't lose a lot of heat, and then they save it for another pay-per-view a month or two or whatever down the road. But I don't know why you'd do that either. Yeah, I think the clean break would be as you suggested, whether it's a Shane McMahon type, some other outside force that we haven't foreseen coming back, and then you as it makes the fans forget that Bryan Danielson's gone. We then shift our attention to some other big storyline, and that'd be the way to go, perhaps. Yeah, there's a lot there that we could certainly break down, but I think that's going to be I say this a lot. I love going into shows not knowing what's going to happen, and this is definitely one of those situations. Another match that has my attention, for obvious reasons, just from the talent level of the three guys in it, the three-way match for the international championship, Will Ospreay defending against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita. I mean, this will be fun to watch, no doubt about it. And it's another one where they could go any of three ways. What are your thoughts?
I look at this match, I look at the personnel involved, and I think this could break Dave Meltzer's scale. Um, this will assuredly be an exciting bout. I hope the Don Callis family doesn't get involved, although I think Kyle Fletcher will be at the center of this. Like you said last week on our podcast, a triple threat match sort of usually it means that someone else than the champion's going to get pinned. Um, and I think it's time we put a belt on Konosuke Takeshita after that run he had in the G1 and everything he's done in AEW, beating Kenny Omega last year at All Out. It's time we make him a made man. And I think having the international championship, that workhorse title that it's really become, I think he's a perfect man to hold it as a heel with Don Callis. I think that would be a great act.
The only thing I'm concerned about here is that okay, so the pay-per-view starts at 8. I am my other among my other jobs, I cover UVA football as a beat writer. Their game kicks off at 3:30-ish. The TV time starts at 3:30. College football games take a lot longer than 3 hours to play these days. It'll end about 7 or 7:15. I'm in Charlottesville. It's a 30-minute drive. If I'll drive straight over from the game, which I can't do. I've got to write a little bit after the game, do some stuff after the game. I'm saying all that to say, uh, Tony Khan likes to start his pay-per-views with a hot match. This would be the one. I mean, we know that Danielson versus Moxley ends it. I can foresee a scenario where he starts his pay-per-view with this match. Please, Tony, do not do that because I don't want to miss anything here. And I will be recording, so I'll have it set up and ready to record. But okay, so that's the only thing I'm worried about because this, you want to start your show with something that gets the fans up, and then give them a chance to come back down. This is you said it. I mean, 8 stars, 9 stars, 10 stars. I mean, Meltzer's going to go crazy. Um, so I'm hoping that we find something else to start with.
Maybe it'd be Hologram versus Mortos, 2 out of 3 falls. I think that'd be a
Right.
good start the show with.
There you go. So, if anybody's out there that Tony Khan has you have his ear. Let's put that one out there. Hologram Mortos would be a great. I mean, yeah, it'd be a fun match to get into there. Um, let's see what else jumping into here. Young Bucks and Private Party is another one that, okay, the third straight match I'm talking about here that I say I just don't know what they're going to do here. The Young Bucks have had the belts 6 months, 7 months. I'm not sure how long it is now. They've not defended the belts too many times, the World Tag Team belts. Um, and Private Party, of course, we remember they have the very early victory in Dynamite history dating back more than 5 years now. Injuries, fits and starts, getting forgotten in booking even when they were healthy, which, the little bit of time they were healthy. Um, can you see Private Party being the face of this division? What do you think?
I can see them being the face of this division. I don't see it happening now. I still think they're waiting for the Golden Lovers to come back and complete this story. So I think the Young Bucks retain, which is unfortunate. I would like to see Private Party win, but go with my head. I'm going to say Young Bucks retain the title through underhanded means. I think we're going to turn Private Party into a very beloved babyface tag team.
Mariah May, Willow Nightingale. When for the AEW Women's World Title, I am thinking that Mariah May's reign is too brief at this stage for her to drop the belt this soon. I mean, especially after that. I mean, that lengthy program with Tony Storm that starting with them being aligned as mentor and mentee, and then the turn and everything else. Mariah May, but Willow Nightingale is someone who, I mean, I guess what Willow Nightingale's job here is she's a legit top talent, and a win for Mariah May, probably through some nefarious means, is still something that can help elevate Mariah May. She's a champion, but this can help you just add another notch to her belt and push her up in the eyes of the fans.
The fans adore Willow Nightingale. She's a great babyface. She's now appeared in every pay per view this year, which is a feat in and of itself. And I think you're right. I think she's gonna help put over Mariah May as the top heel of this division. Continue reinforcing that. I don't see Mariah May losing this title until Grand Slam in February. Um, but I guess that's an indictment on AEW for always booking to the home crowd that I expect that. But anyways, I guess it's not really important for this conversation. Yeah, I expect Mariah May to win. And I think we still have a story to tell with Mina Shirakawa between these two, who I think will be involved in this somehow. So
Hangman Adam Page, Jay White, Jay White making his return to TV recently, looking good as you'd expect. He's always been in top-notch shape. Grabbed a microphone, started talking about how he wants to be back in the singles title picture. He said the words AEW World Title. Um, Makes me think that Hangman Adam Page may be the guy giving up the fall here to start a push for Jay White. Am I overthinking that?
no, I don't think so at all. I wonder if anyone will get involved because obviously we've spent the last month reinforcing this idea that Hangman Page is hated by everyone in the locker room. But I think it goes back to Grand Slam. If this is the next, I mean, Full Gear obviously is next month, and then it's World's End. But ostensibly, Grand Slam is the next stadium show, and I think we're going to get to a point where Jay White's going to be in that title picture, and this is the beginning of it. Um, this is the match I'm most excited for because I love both of these guys, and I honestly don't really care who wins because I'll be happy either way. But I love Jay White, and I just wonder how much of that momentum that Hangman has can you transfer to Jay White without diminishing returns? Because beating Hangman Page would be huge, but I maybe it'd be good for Hangman because where does Hangman go at this point other than
Yeah.
winning a championship? I mean, anything else seems like a step down from what he should be doing.
I agree, and this is one of those matches that there's occasionally, not every pay-per-view will have a match like this where it's just two guys, no title on the line, just let's just have a good match, and that's looking forward to that as well. One other we'll talk about, Jack Perry, unfortunately for him, has become a little bit of an afterthought. He's a TNT champion, which is, yeah, I guess, of the three secondary belts. They have too many secondary belts, but of the three secondary belts, it's supposed to be the top spot, the secondary belt, just because it was the first of the secondary belts.
Yeah.
He's defending against Katsuyori Shibata. should be a good match, great match with Shibata being involved. Um, but yeah, I mean, Jack Perry's just kind of been lost in the weeds here for a while.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Jack Perry, so I'm maybe I'm biased in saying this, but I feel like maybe that's indicative of how he presents himself. And I'm just not very. How many people are really big Jack Perry fans right now? On the mic, he's okay. In the ring, he's okay. I think a lot of people would be better suited to hold that title than him. Um, they've gotten, I mean, as a company, they've gotten too far away from what made the TNT Championship interesting to begin with, and that was the open challenge. Now, I know you can't have people from different companies come out every week like they did originally, but there's an expectation that he's going to be on the show competing in good matches more often than not for that title. He just hasn't done it. I mean, in fact, the biggest match he's had since winning it was not even for the TNT Championship. It was for Bryan Danielson's World Championship. So I'd like to see Shibata win because I think Shibata is good enough of a wrestler to bring back the spirit of the TNT Championship, but I don't expect that to happen. I do think that this will move us into a feud between Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia, which I would like to see. I think both of those guys could really riff off each other well. So,
Yeah, you mentioned Daniel Garcia not on this card, MJF not on this card, Swerve Strickland not on this card. Uh,
well, he's
oh,
returning. He is returning it at the
he
show.
he is returning, yes, and he's returning. I was going to say, any idea on any thoughts on perhaps surprise Adam Cole? I should have mentioned as well. Britt Baker, I don't guess we're seeing here. Um, Mercedes Monet. I mean, there's a few people who are on the outside looking in. MVP, do we think there's any possible surprises or any surprises you want to possible surprises that you want to see?
Well, I mean, given Swerve Strickland isn't in a match, I would like to see him wrestle Shelton Benjamin as a surprise. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily because there's already 9 matches on this card. Yeah, 9 matches. So, for the sake of me sleeping at some point, there's not another match. But maybe Bobby Lashley. I posit that question. Maybe Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I had his name's hanging out there. I'm thinking that the way that Swerve, Shelton, Benjamin, MVP, Prince Nana thing goes is maybe we leave Bobby Lashley hanging out there for a while, have Swerve and Shelton Benjamin wrestle a banger of a match at
Yeah.
some point soon, next few weeks, and then Lashley comes in after. And Shelton Benjamin, unfortunately, the guy, as good as he is, his whole career, he's just sort of been a setup guy, but he's such a good setup guy that Swerve has a feud with him, eventually gets over him, and then that just gets us to Lashley and Swerve, which will be just incredible, hopefully. But yeah, that's dream. And you mentioned Shane McMahon as a possibility, as a guy who could be a on-air figure who could be an authority figure of some sort. That's a positive. The fact that there are so many prominent names that aren't listed on the card tells us that there very well could be a swerve or two of that nature. And that's something fun to watch on a Saturday night when you start at 8 o'clock and you go up to midnight. You sit there with a buddy or you're texting or you're tweeting or whatever else, and you're just kind of, hey, what's going to happen? I think this might happen. That's part of the fun of a pro wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah, I love the. I think the free agency was, I guess, late 2000s TNA, early 2010s TNA, but having that free agency element of wrestling is great. I'm happy to see that there are guys who I can make a grand appearance at a pay per view in AEW, and it would be a big deal. It's exciting. What are they going to say for Full Gear? I guess that's because that's really the bigger. AEW is not quite like WWE where there are A shows and B premium live events, but Full Gear is a tentpole event for them. So are they going to save anything for that show? Yeah, I'm excited. I don't really know how I feel about Shane McMahon showing up in AEW yet, but anyways, I guess I won't know until after he does it, but yeah.
It's right. We'll see how it's rolled out, if it's rolled out, right? So, for our viewers out there, I just want to do a little signaling here. We have so Ray and I also did a video talking about his interview that he did this week with former Mid-Atlantic heavyweight champion Sam Houston. There's a story on the Augusta Free Press website as well. And so in addition, so there's the video where Ray and I talk about the interview. Then there's also Ray's interview that we'll have as a video here on the YouTube channel. And then there's Ray's story. So and I mean, I'd take a look at each of the three. The story wraps a lot of stuff up there. The interview is just Sam Houston talking almost stream of consciousness at times, and then Ray and I kind of putting some wrap on that. So check those out, and yeah, then we'll get back together next week. We'll talk about the pay-per-view. We'll talk about next week's Dynamite. Boy, Ray, pretty busy, but you've been pretty busy the last few days. Good work on the Sam Houston interview. Did a great job. I think I think you said it was the first interview of this nature you've ever done?
I interviewed politicians when I was in
Okay.
college,
Okay. Okay.
but really, there's not that much difference. But I've never interviewed a professional wrestler before.
Okay. So first wrestler interview, and
First,
that's
yes.
good. Good. Well, I'm gonna have to compare notes on the interviews with politicians and wrestlers. I've done both too. So, but yeah, check those out on our YouTube page on the Augusta Free Press website. Hey, Ray, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Chris.